Okay, we're here today to talk a little bit about the squat. We've had a lot of people want to know what's a right squat, what's a wrong squat. What we want to talk about today is that there's a squat for every purpose, and there's a reason for doing each variation of the squat. And we're going to discuss a little bit about how it's done, why it's done, and what it's supposed to look like. There is no wrong or right. There is only a squat for a purpose that you're trying to achieve. So we're going to start out by discussing the typical powerlifting squat. First, we're going to break it down a little bit on the bar. We're going to have someone demonstrate. Chris is going to demonstrate what we call a typical powerlifting squat. We're going to talk about his depth, why he's at that particular depth, what he's trying to achieve, which is the most weight that he can move for one rep, and the reason for that. So with no further ado, let's unrack and take a couple of reps. Notice first of all, he's got a wide grip. The bar is a little lower down his back. That puts the bar closer to his hips. We set up and load the body. He's going to sit his hips back as far as possible, open up the knees, and get into parallel position and come up strong. Good. We'll do one more rep. Notice when he sits back, his shins are perpendicular to the floor, and he's trying to load his glutes and his hamstrings as much as possible. Rack. The purpose for this squat is that in a powerlifting competition, you're required to demonstrate your strength in the squat by demonstrating a 1 rep max. They have a rule that you have to break parallel. Some federations are a little stricter than others, but that in general is the rule. So when you're powerlifting, what you're trying to do is optimize your leverages to get the most weight possible and not go any deeper than you have to. So that's why that whole thing is executed that way. Also too, it's worth noting that stances will vary. That wide stance can be even wider on some people and a little narrower on others. That doesn't matter, as long as it works for your particular body and your leverages, whatever helps you get the most weight. That's a powerlifting squat. We talk a little bit about squat depth. This is the #1 criticism of any squatter. He wasn't deep enough. Well, you know what? It depends on your purpose. We work people from high boxes, we work people with half squats, we work people from pins. In the middle of the squat, it really depends on where in the squat you're trying to work and what you're trying to achieve. If you were trying to compete, yes, you have to get down to depth. If you're not trying to compete, maybe you don't have to get down to depth. What does it take to make the squat work for your purpose? If you watch videos of people squatting, oftentimes you can see what appears to be a high squat. What you don't see is the side angle, oftentimes shot, so it looks like the groin is higher than the knees. Typically, if this is a 3-judged powerlifting squat, you can bet it was pretty close. And it can oftentimes look very high. So looking at videos, critiquing depth, just understand that there's a purpose for every range of motion within the squat. That's worth noting. You got good depth, by the way. Excellent. Excellent. I'm at depth right now. I don't know what the angle is for that camera, but that's depth. I know I'm at depth. From the front, I might look kind of high. The angle between my groin and my knee might not look that great. But if you shoot from the side, you can see that my butt crease right there is clearly below my knee. Isn't it? I hope it is. A little deeper? So you can see there's a little bit of an optical illusion that takes place when you see a squat from the front versus when you see a squat from the side. Not only that, but like I said, depth isn't always the goal, isn't always the point. But worth noting, depth is important, but it's not to be hated on. Everything has a purpose. I think we've kind of captured the purpose of the powerlifting squat, why it's executed that way, and to say there is a variation in some of the federations' requirement in depth, but the standing rule in almost everybody's rule book is that the lifter has to break parallel. That is to say, the knee and the hip crease have to come to line up and then go just a little bit lower. As you can see, Chris got plenty of depth on that. That would pass in any federation. So that's the purpose of the powerlifting squat. We'll move on to the next one, which we'll talk about is the Olympic squat. The Olympic style squat. The Olympic style squat is a preparatory movement. It is not designed to move maximal poundages, although some people can do a lot of weight that way. It's it's in preparation for the events of an Olympic lifting competition where you're expected to catch a bar in a low position because you don't want to have to pull that bar any further off the ground than you have to. So power clean and snatch are the ways you catch the bar really deep without having to pull the bar as far up as you would if you didn't get any deeper. So we're going to demonstrate an Olympic squat. Remember too that this is not designed to move maximal poundages, but some people can get a lot this way. 800 pounds have been done. Shane Hammond did 900 pounds this way. So we're going to demonstrate the Olympic lifting style squat. Let's try this out. He's going to use speed and acceleration out of the hole. He's going to get deep. That's it. Bury it. Good. Notice too, his knees are traveling over his toes. He's not able to sit back as deeply. It's about reflex, speed, and depth. Excellent. Good deal, racking. So what we saw there was an example of an Olympic style squat done ballistically with speed and with depth and with a narrow stance, a relatively narrow stance, and a narrow grip. Your average Olympic lifter is going to do that, is going to call that a squat, and it is, but it's a style of squat that is preparatory for the Olympic lifts themselves. The next thing we're going to discuss is the bodybuilding style squat, style most popularly seen in gyms. What you're looking for with the bodybuilding squat is to build tension in the legs. You're trying to build your quads, you're trying to build your lower body. You're not interested in moving maximal poundages. You're not interested in preparing for another lift. The lift itself is designed to put maximal muscular tension on the quads and get them to grow. So you do that by not locking out, by not going quite as deep, not using any reflex, and repping, lots of repping. So to demonstrate that style of squat, we're going to set up much like we did with the Olympic, but we're not going to lock it out, and we're not going to bounce, and we're not going to be ballistic. We're going to keep muscular tension on the quads. Setup's very similar, just a hair wider. He's not going to go quite as deep. Just kind of reps it. Not locking out. As you can see, some people would fault that, but it has its purpose. There you go. Exactly. No lockout at the top. The legs are taking all the brunt, and he's repping a lot of reps. Outstanding, outstanding. Good job. Wow. Damn, how many was that? I don't know. 20. Outstanding, outstanding. Well, what we have there is what some people would refer to as, you know, an incomplete squat, or, you know, not a perfect squat, but it is a perfect squat for its purpose. If you're trying to get bigger legs, that would be the way to do it. It certainly would be the better way to do it. So we've identified 3 different forms of squats, all back squats. There are other variations. There are box squats, there are front squats, there are overhead squats, there are Zercher squats. There are a number of ways to squat a bar. Today I just wanted to cover the barbell back squat and identify the fact that there are numerous ways to do it and numerous reasons to do those ways.
Which one is your favorite squat out of those 3?
Well, I'm partial to the powerlifting squat as a former powerlifter. I feel like execution-wise and functionality-wise, it has the most crossover. Now, I'm not saying you got to stand a mile wide. That is a specialized technique, but you do stand a little wider. You don't go all the way down. You go to parallel and come up and try to use the most weight that you can. That's my favorite style. That's not to say that it's right for every purpose, though. Not going to go into great detail on the box squat, but it's worth noting that the box squat has another purpose of stopping the myotatic reflex and forcing the lifter to reload the squat from a dead stop. This builds explosiveness. Not only that, but it saves the lifter in recovery time because the muscular tension is less. Let's just show a box squat. Gonna unrack. This is very much the powerlifting style. Gonna sit back hard, chest up, eyes up, hit the box, unload, and re-go fast. There you go. He's building power off the box from a dead stop. That's it. Knees out, head up, good. Hips through fast. Everything about this is designed to build explosiveness. That's it, man. Good, that's it. Good job, Chris. 3 whites. 3 whites in my book. Excellent. So what you have is another variation, another purpose. The purpose of that is an accessory movement, or even some people consider that a staple movement, of building the squat, explosiveness out of the bottom, improving recovery time by reducing muscular tension on the box. So, and you can also adjust the box to different heights and work wherever you're weak. So, there you go. Thank you, Chris. You're the man. Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming down. Hopefully everybody learns something and stops hating on other kind of squats.